At this time of year, especially, we got baseball talk with Drew, Jalen, and David. Now, this game or event or whatever you want to call it segment consists of me asking the questions as the moderator, and you guys are the talkers. You guys can talk as long as you want about any topic. I recommend that it stays a little bit shorter on the shorter side so we can get through all the
Oh,
questions.
Jesus
Um,
Christ.
I got three questions for you guys, but I'll start off in the NL. The Brewers obviously have that one spot at the moment, not clinched yet, I believe, but they're aiming for it. Now, Milwaukee's been in this spot before where they're good. They look amazing going into the postseason. Great regular season that didn't always translate to postseason success. Very heartbreaking sometimes. Okay, facing a hungry team like the Cubs or Padres, hopefully if they stay in this, as the one seed, how much do past playoff frustrations weigh on this roster? And which players do you trust to rise above the pressure? Drew, I'll start with you since you're the other Brewers fan along with myself, but I'm not the one talking right now. I want you to tell me, what what frustrations weigh on this roster and which players do you trust to rise above the pressure?
Man, it's still a very young team, and everybody knows that. But the thing that is different, especially compared to last year, is it seems like there's like a magic that they have, and that not only that, but they have their veterans. They have Freddie Peralta, who's consistently been good. They have Christian Yelich, healthy. Knock on wood. Let's not give him a single at bat in his last series. William Contreras is still battling stuff. Woody's battling stuff. I think that will be fine as long as they can make it through the wild card, which right now it looks like they'll run into one of either the Padres or the Cubs. And I mean, both of these series, you're going to have the better pitching staff overall, I think, than either of those teams. In terms of offense, it's definitely debatable. The Cubs have a really good offense. The Padres look pretty strong. But especially for the Padres, if they don't have Michael King, we're gonna have a better setup there. I think the people who are going to have to rise above is we're going to have Andrew Vaughn get back into shape. We're going to have Churio play at the top of his game.
Haven't heard his name in a while from any of the Brewers faithful in the Hawkinton chat. Haven't been mentioned at all recently.
Well, listen, Churio hasn't been horrible. He's been playing fine. He only got sort of overshined by PCA's 2-month prime, and now he's coming back down to earth. And obviously, he's not had a PCA season, but he was out for like a month. And I think that he's had a good season overall. And it's going to take him a little bit more time. He's 22 years old. He's got plenty of time to figure it out.
Well, I was talking about Vaughn. I don't mind Chorio.
Oh, King Vaughn? Yeah.
He's got. That's what I was saying. I haven't been cyberbullied.
I don't think he's hit a home run since August.
Yeah, I know. And, I hate to be the guy that said I told you so, but,
There's still time. There's still
He's
time.
still batting like 90 as a Brewer. So overall, that was a win. Savali isn't even a White Sox anymore.
I know. But
oh, by the way, guys, we got a Cubs fan and a White Sox fan. So Chicago versus Milwaukee right now, as it's probably going to be in the NLDS. I hope at least. But now, Drew, I mean, are you done with your response or keep?
Nope, that's my spiel.
All right, we're gonna go with the Cubs fan since they're in the playoffs and the White Sox aren't. Yeah. So the Cubs. So Jalen, I want to get your opinion. I think who's going to have to step up to beat you guys if you guys are able to get past the Padres, which I think you guys are going to be able to, because I don't want to see the Padres. I want to see the Cubs more than I want to see the Padres, but that's just me. What do you think? Who do you think is going to have to step up if they want to get the series over you guys in the NLDS?
I know it's actually two guys.
Two guys. Go ahead. However many you want.
I'm not worried about the Brewers lineup. The Brewers lineup are going to hit you to death regardless. But it comes down to Quinn Priester and Jose Quintana for me. I believe I'm not sure if Woodruff is going to be available, but he should, I think, by the end. And Peralta is going to be there as well. He's been pretty good. It's going to come down to Quinn Priester, and it's going to come down to Jose Quintana. Like, if those two pitch anywhere like they did against the Cubs when they played them last series, I guess in Milwaukee, I guess it was, The series will be over in 4 because we always talk about how important starting pitching is, right? And how important those first 3-4 innings are, especially in a postseason game. If the Cubs tee off like they were doing it in Milwaukee all season, they tee off like they do the first 2-3 innings, it's going to be a very long series because we all know the bats of the Chicago Cubs are pretty high level. You know, they just got Kyle Tucker back and he's healthy. And, you know, the Brewers are going to be sitting down for about a week. And the Cubs are going to be playing for about an extra 3 games, 2 or 3 games. And it could give Kyle Tucker a chance to heat up. So I really believe that the Brewers have to have Quinn Priester and Jose Quintana. They have to pitch well in order for them to go to the CS, in my opinion, regardless if it's against the Cubs or the Padres.
Okay, real quick, David, as the lone poopy White Sox fan, what are your predictions for the Cubs and Padres, and what do you think it's going to take for the Brewers to beat either of those teams?
Well, maybe I'll play Homer here, but going off of Drew's point, X factor for this series is going to be Dylan Cease. Especially if there's no Michael King. Cease is a guy that was once very highly regarded. Honestly, he was one of the best pitchers in all of baseball 2 years ago. But he's had a rough season, kind of had a rough go of it for his entire tenure in San Diego. But we all know the levels that he can reach, and he's going to be the unquestioned ace if the Padres are without Michael King. And the thing with the Padres that scares me if I'm a Cubs fan is that you have a window of 5 or 6 innings where you can get work done, because as soon as that bullpen comes in, there's going to be virtually no room for error. I'm just imagining a 7, 8, 9 of Randy Vasquez, Mason Miller, and Robert Suarez. That might be the scariest bullpen in all of the postseason.
Y'all think Michael King is hurt?
It wasn't he questionable, like Drew was saying?
No, he's healthy right now. He pitches Saturday.
Okay.
Good sign.
Okay, I remember Drew. You said something earlier about him not being available, so I wasn't sure.
Earlier in the week, I know that there was responses he might not pitch right away.
He's been throwing since September 9th.
Okay. Well, then in that case, maybe not as big, but still, like, I mean, the same thing, like, you know, like. He'll be probably getting the ball in like game 2 or game 3, but I'm telling you, man, this Padres bullpen is scary. I think going up against a guy like a guy like Mason Miller in the 8th inning, and then having to go out and face Robert Suarez, like that's a little scary to me. So I think if the Padres are going to win, their starters outside of King are going to have to be lights out, and for the Cubs, I think it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be how good the other starters do. I don't know if you'd agree with me with this, Jalen. I think right now it'll probably be Imanaga, but I think Cade Horton is the best starter on the Cubs, and I think it hasn't been relatively close as of recently. And maybe you still start Shota in game 1. You don't want to give the ball to a rookie in game 1 of a best of 3, but the Horton has looked light years beyond Imanaga and Boyd as of late, and I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on those guys to carry the load, because the Cubs bullpen is also very good. Daniel Palencia, there's a lot of depth, but it's going to be about how those first 5 or 6 innings go, because we've seen guys like Shota, you know, they throw 6 scoreless one day and then they just melt down their next start. So whoever's starting rotation outside of their top 1 or 2 guys holds up better, I think is going to be the difference for this series. But if I had to pick who would face the Brewers, I like the Cubs lineup, but I think we talked about this last week. We've seen a very different version of the Cubs offense since the All-Star break than we did the first half of the season. I was at a game, I think it was the 4th of July game, where you guys set the record for how many home runs you've hit in a game in franchise history. It was just one after another against the Cardinals. That same offense has been few and far between ever since post All-Star break. and especially the main guys of like Suzuki and Tucker and PCA and Bush has been all right, but those like heavy hitters in the heart of the lineup, it's going to be up to them to become more consistent to try to look like what they did earlier in the summer.
Two really quick follow-up points. First, Dylan Cease could be, depending on his performance, pitching for millions of dollars worth of free agency money. If he can show that he can bounce back, he will get a lot more money on the market. If he performs poorly, he will definitely lose out on that opportunity because he's going to be one of the highest pedigree pitching free agents that we see, probably behind Fromber and maybe someone else. But he could be, especially if he performs well in the postseason, be making himself a lot of money. Second point, hot take. If the Reds make the playoffs, I think they can knock off the Dodgers in a 3-game series.
Wow. I like that.
I think the pitching could work.
Yeah. With the healthy starters the Dodgers have right now,
that's impossible in my opinion.
It would be really hard because the Dodgers Stadium.
Jalen, talk about it. Jalen, why is that impossible?
Well, they got Blake Snell, let alone they just got a freaking guy that just went through 103 miles per hour and Shohei Ohtani, and he can hit 50 homers as well. So that's 2. They go get Tyler Glasnow as well back. He should be back right around there. And, we ain't even talk about Yamamoto yet. That's 4. Here, Yamamoto had 200 Ks.
Ohtani's going to pitch 2 innings in 1 game.
That's why they were doing it. He's going to pitch 5. He's
Hunter Green.
They just
Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott.
I was just yep.
Chase Burns out of the bullpen. Like the bullpen is the most concerning thing for me if I'm the Reds. But same thing about the Dodgers. That bullpen's not that great either.
I would say I would ask Paul Skeens how Shohei Ohtani looks and how the Dodgers lineup looks. Then that'll be your answer. The 100 mile per hour fastball don't mean nothing to Freddie Freeman and Mookie.
All it takes is for the Reds to put together anything on offense. If Ellie De La Cruz can step up when the moment matters, that could be a upset that definitely happens. And
we're saying a lot of ifs. We already know what the Dodgers are.
There's a lot. Yeah, obviously the Dodgers are more.
I'm hearing a lot of
the
ifs.
Dodgers have more pedigree. They have more background, but the Reds are hot and they have great pitching. So it's just a matter of they need to hit. In order for my agenda to be pushed across the finish line, they need to hit.
I would take the Reds pitching depth right now over there because you can go Green, Abbott, Lodolo, Nick Martinez. That's you can go like 4 or 5 starters deep right now.
This is absolutely crazy.
They are right now, I think
the Dodgers are going to be matched up. Is all I'm saying.
They said that when I had Giannis not in the top 5, that I was
okay. All right, that take was ridiculous. Don't.
They
bring
said
it
I was
Stop.
delusional.
Don't.
We know what the Dodgers are.
Come on. Don't.
Really,
Don't
really,
don't
obviously,
a whole lot of ifs.
Obviously,
Don't
the Dodgers. But you like
And the Reds ain't even there yet.
Shohei Ohtani hasn't thrown over 75 pitches in a single outing this year yet.
On this graph, we're looking at the Mets right now.
Tyler Glasnow hasn't even pitched this season. I'm just saying with the current – I agree with you with the current state of the Dodgers rotation. You're putting a lot on Snell and Glasnow. I think after those 2 guys, they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable right now because
did I not just bring up Yamamoto with 200 Ks?
No, I'm saying, but after those 2 guys, who gets the ball game 3 though? I mean, like if it's Glasnow,
did I not just bring up Shohei Ohtani? They're building him up for the postseason.
I don't know.
Ohtani's not going to pitch more than 3 innings in a game.
I really don't think he will.
No,
I really don't think
I agree with that.
I mean, that's fine. He just hit 2 3-run homers. That's it. That's fine.
And that's the thing.
What are we talking about?
The odds are stacked against them. They're at Dodger Stadium. It's obviously a very much an uphill battle. The Dodgers should win this 100%. I agree with you, Jalen.
And we're talking about the team that is not even in the playoffs yet. They have to go win 2 games.
They're 1 game away.
And the Mets are already there.
It's a 1-game difference. If the Mets go 1-2 and the Reds go 2-1, the Reds make the postseason. They have the tiebreaker against them.
Yeah, right, but the Mets have to lose. They just beat the Cubs and Wrigley twice.
I think with the current we talked about this before. I think baseball is so much about momentum and who getting hot at the right time. I mean, like nobody thought the Tigers were going to beat the Astros last year.
The Reds just lost the series to the Pirates.
The thing is that the Mets on paper are a much worse matchup for the Dodgers. But I think with how bad the Mets have been, we talked about, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, the Mets have had one of the worst offenses in the MLB. They've gone from top 5 in almost every pitching stat to mid 20s.
Let me tell you
think
something.
What I'll say is I think the Reds right now would be a worse matchup for the Dodgers than the Mets would be.
We're talking about a team that is already sitting there already. The Mets are already there. But who do the Reds got to play tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday?
They play the Brewers.
Who do the Mets got to play? Who do the Mets got to play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Who do they play?
Let me take
the Marlins. It's over. The Mets are going to
the
play.
Marlins have been hot too.
Marlins are nice.
Here's the thing, though. The Reds haven't suffered multiple 10-plus game losing streaks at different points of this season, though. The Mets have, and the Mets bullpen has been horrible. Horrible.
I would ask the Cubs how they would look at the Mets right now. They just went into Wrigley and put up 10, 11 runs in 2-3 games.
Their offense can carry them. That's true.
The Reds just swept the Cubs.
Yeah, they're off.
And they
Mets
just lost 2 to the Pirates.
That's true. That's true. They can.
What
But
are we saying? The Pirates.
What I'm saying
they could have
is
arguably swept the Reds.
What I'm saying is they have the upside to potentially beat the Dodgers. That's my entire argument.
But they have to get there first. The Mets are
100%.
sitting there with a
100%.
game up.
Yes, but that is not guaranteed, set in stone. All it takes is for the Reds to win 2 games and the Mets to lose 2.
So guess what? If the Brewers lose 2 games and the Phillies go on and sweep whoever they playing, so you saying the Brewers gonna end up playing the Dodgers?
They could, but we have to take a look at what the Phillies are running into, and they're running into the Twins. It's very doable, but all it takes is for either the Brewers to win 1 game or the Phillies to lose 1 game, and we lock in the 1 seed.
The Brewers are playing for something. So the Brewers are going to be playing for something. So that means the Reds are going to have a harder time beating the Brewers in Milwaukee, by the way.
Yes, I think, Jalen, I think you're right on that. I think that the Brewers should win 2 out of 3 in that one. But I think the Reds could definitely, with their season on the line, put a little bit more eggs in one basket and try and make things happen.
All right,
I think that they could make it happen.
All I'll say is right now, I think the Reds would be a worse matchup for the Dodgers than the Mets would be. With the Mets have limped into the postseason.
Nolan McClain looked pretty darn good right
all right,
now.
let's move on to the next one. We got to move on to the next side. AL Central drama.
Started, bro.
Listen, the AL. We were talking about it. We were talking about it. The AL drama on the other side. You got the Guardians, Tigers, wild card spots. Cleveland and Detroit are battling for the AL Central because they are tied right now. No game separated. They are tied.
Cleveland has the tiebreaker, though, I believe, right?
Yeah, Cleveland does have the tiebreaker, but one could end up in the wild card round instead of as division champs. Which path gives you a better chance? Winning the division and avoiding early drama, or scrapping through the wild card? Which one do you guys think these guys
wild card, hot take, wild card, being able to get those games out of the way. I mean, look at what happened to the Braves against the Phillies the last couple of years. Brian Snitker went on record and said that he kind of wishes that they had those earlier games to be played. That's one of my biggest baseball hot takes is that I think wild card, teams that make the wild card and are underseeded are in better chances to make a deep run than teams that get the bye.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, you definitely have seen it in the past. Obviously, it depends on everything comes down to the games you play. And I think that there's people who get to play in the wild card, they can ride that momentum into another series, knowing that they did win a series and the other team was not playing in that time. But I also think that it could serve a better purpose. On the other hand, for those teams that do get the bye, and as a Brewers fan, I don't mind getting past the wild card at this point because they haven't proven that they could win in the wild card very often. So
don't even get me started, man.
I think there's a lot of things that factor into both sides, but I can definitely see that argument.
Jalen, go ahead.
What was the question again?
The question was, let me find it one more time. Hold on.
Would you rather be wild card or have the bye?
Yeah.
I'd rather have the wild card because you come out of the season and then you have another series, but you have a day off like it's regular,
Right.
While the divisional teams are waiting a full week. It seems like
pretty much.
So
Sometimes
it's like
you get rusty.
you get rusty. Just ask the teams that have lost. The Phillies when they played the Padres, that went almost 7.
Yep.
So it's like, and they should have all whopped the Padres back, what was that, 2 years ago?
Yep.
They did the Dodgers. They lost to the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks went all the way to the World Series.
That was
and then the Rangers, they went all the way to the World Series and won the World Series. So I would
Baseball's
say probably
weird.
the wild card is probably the best because you just keep playing.
What I'm saying, man.
Now,
Imagine those Reds going around though.
And that was my World Series, by the way.
I was gonna say, yeah, we're gonna get to that. Was gonna be my last question. My question before that. So we got the Mariners. They clinched their first round bye, I'm pretty sure, in the AL, while other teams have still got to fight through the wild card. In your mind, does carrying late season momentum from a wild card win trump the benefit of rest and preparation?
Yes.
I mean, I know we just went over that a little bit, but think about this. Does home field advantage not matter in this sport? I mean, we got the Blue Jays and Mariners and Brewers and Phillies with these potential buys. Do these home field advantages not matter as much? I know you guys were saying that the wild card, you'd rather have a wild card, but truly, this is home field advantage we're talking about too.
I would say home field advantage really matters the most in the wild card series because it's 3 games. You got to
So
win.
it doesn't matter in the NLDS, ALDS.
In the NLDS,
everybody gets to play at least a few games in their home.
Yeah, it's just like basketball. You got to win 3 games instead of 2 for this one, but it's just like basketball. You can go in and lose one of the games, but as long as you take one on the road and you take care of your home,
But you have more home field though. You have more home field.
Once you get to the bye, you're kind of used to it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you've been in that environment because and that's another reason why I think the bye is honestly a little bit of a disadvantage because especially if let's say the Guardians they'll beat the fuck ass Tigers, but let's say the Guardians they go on and they play the Mariners and let's not even say they take both of the first 2 in CL. Let's just say they take they split the series, especially if they win the second game. Then the Mariners, they go to Cleveland. That's the first away game they've played the whole postseason. That's going to be an unfamiliar feeling, especially a team like the Mariners. They haven't made the postseason since 2021. Before that, it was a team, they haven't made it since 2000. It was before I was born. And a team, obviously comes down to some teams have more postseason experience than others. But if I'm a team like Cleveland, I would love to have Seattle in a 1-1 split going back to Cleveland against a team that the majority of their stars have never even been to the playoffs before.
And no one talks about when you talk about a divisional series, that game 1 is the most important game for the home team because you have to win that game. You have to at least have some kind of stability that you won first. And if you lose game 2, well, you're bound to bounce back in game 3. If you lose game 1, you ultimately have all the pressure in the world to come out and win game 2.
Especially if you're the type of team where you're top heavy when it comes to the rotation. If the Tigers somehow sneak into the playoffs, they basically have to win the Scooble game. Because if they roll out Jack Flaherty or fucking I don't know, Troy Melton or something like that. Right now the Tigers rotation, they would be starting a rookie in Cleveland if they lose the Scooble game. That's basically a death sentence. And that's why I think, we were talking about earlier, the Cubs winning the Shota start or the Padres winning the Michael King start is so important is because you might not have a better chance to win than game 1 because you're obviously going to be rolling out your best starter.
Now, I want to get to this next question that I was going to have, and this is a pretty obvious one. Aaron Judge or Kyle Riley for AL MVP? Now, I got Riley, but that's just me.
It's I ain't gonna say it's easy because Aaron Judge, what he's doing is phenomenal, especially with his
Aaron Judge still.
all the other statistical offensive categories. But you have to give it to Cal because what he's doing at the catching position, people don't you don't understand how demanding it is to catch and then get up and go hit and then come back and catch again for 130 some games. And then you being the sole big time offensive player on the team, it's a lot of pressure on you to carry. And he just carried them to the 2 seed in the AL when they were back in June, they were third, I believe, in the AL West. And they just shot up the minute he just went off, and they just won the AL West. I think the first time since 2005, I think 16, I think something like that. So it's like what he's doing with the Mariners is historic, and he just passed Griffey, the greatest Mariner outside of Ichiro. Is like that's no knock, and he still got 3 games to pass Aaron Judge's single season home run record. So if he even do that, it's practically unanimous at that point.
If he can pass Judge, I'd probably. The thing is that it's so hard to like, and I know this is such like a generalized way to put it, but it's just kind of hard to picture a 250 hitter getting MVP.
Yeah.
Then you have Aaron Judge batting almost 300 with a 1,000 OPS. The thing that I think is gonna really give Cal an argument, because he had a bad like 2 or 3 week stretch from like mid-August to like early September. The thing that I really think is going to give Cal the edge is his defense. He's never been known as like an elite defensive catcher, but this year, Hop Time ranks top 10 in the MLB. He's a great framer. He doesn't have any. He doesn't allow pass balls. His defense, in my opinion, is like the least talked about part of his game because he's never really been like an elite defensive catcher. And he's still not elite, but he's been one of the better ones in baseball. And I think that's really is what's going to elevate him.
David, I'll back that up by saying he was the Platinum Glove last year in the AL. So, I mean, the glove's been there. So that's not anything new, I guess. But I'm going to be boring, and I'm going to say that Aaron Judge deserves it. And Cal Raleigh has had a great season, historically the best power season from a catcher ever. But, I mean, on the other side of things, he is batting 250. And it's not like Aaron Judge's defense has been far behind. And you could obviously – I understand the argument for Cal Raleigh, but Aaron Judge is batting 330, and he's not far behind in the power department either. He played less games. Obviously, the catcher is a more premium position, and I think that Raleigh will get the edge that just because of, obviously, his impact on the Mariners and the run that they have went on. But I think that if we take away the jerseys, if you take the pinstripes off of Judge and you just look at pure performance from an MLB player, I think that Aaron Judge played better.
Now, my last question. Go ahead.
I would say that no one's like taking anything away from Aaron Judge because at some point you kind of expect these kind of numbers from Aaron Judge, and you see somebody that come out of their skin like Cal for a team that haven't been this hot, been this good for like almost a decade. That's where the MVP comes in for me.
I'll play devil's advocate a little and say that to go off Drew's point, I think catcher is like the tight end position in football, the most top-heavy position by far. In my opinion, there's really only like 3 or 4 elite catchers in baseball. You got Cal, you got Will Smith, you got Contreras, and honestly, like you could maybe even stop the list there. Guys like Real Muto and like Adley Rutschman have kind of fallen off. Hunter Goodman's pretty good, but once you get past the top 10 catchers, you don't even like have like all-star level players. And, that for any other position, there's maybe like 15 to 20 guys that you would take. But so I think catching being the most shallow position in terms of overall talent across the league, seeing a catcher have this historic of a season might be elevating his popularity a little bit.
All right, go ahead.
Now, my last question is, I'm always going to ask you this every Friday until your team gets knocked out. Who do we have in the World Series championship game as of right now, as things stand at the moment?
I got the Mariners versus the Dodgers. It's just hard for me to say that a Dodgers team like they have now and only got better, especially with their bullpen. Yes, they say the bullpen has been taxed, but when it comes to the postseason, everybody's stats is fresh. Everybody's new. This is a brand new season. And with the Dodgers on paper, they're the best in the NL. So I just feel that the Mariners, with their hot streak and with the MVP, in my eyes, for the way he's playing, they have an easier role, especially against the Guardians and Tigers. Not saying the Guardians or the Tigers are bad, but I would rather play the Guardians or the Tigers than the Yankees or the Red Sox, and especially in the DS. And then when the ALCS comes, you will be able to have you would have a series under your belt, and we'll really see what it is from there. But I feel like I got the Mariners and the Dodgers.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, I don't mean to be boring, but yeah, I think I've said it before. I think the Mariners have the Mariners have by far the best pitching rotation in the AL, and I think they stack up against the Brewers very, very well. I mean, Bryce, you got your top 4 guys of Brian Wu, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, and Luis Castillo. Bryce Miller as your 5th starter is nasty. And like they had a fantastic trade deadline, got 2 of the best bats available with Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor. Jalen, you were talking about how Cal's had to carry. I think those are 2 guys that could really help supplement them. You add Julio Rodriguez, who's
figured it out.
I was gonna say, haven't even mentioned him, but like, and they have a good back half of their lineup. And especially if they don't have to play the Guardians, then I feel like they have a pretty solid path to make it, because the Blue Jays aren't like a renowned postseason contender. The Red Sox will be without Roman Anthony, and the Yankees, like the Mets, have kind of limped into the postseason. So I really think this could be the Mariners' year.
Man, I think I have to pick the Brewers until the wheels fall off. And on the other side, the Mariners have been the popular pick. I don't have a whole lot of questions about them, but for some reason, the team I always have no questions about somehow gets knocked out. So I'm going to say that the Yankees will make it to the World Series and play the Brewers.
Milwaukee versus New York. Interesting. Hey,
I think that's
you don't think the Cubs are making the World Series?
If they had Justin Steele, I could feel that they can definitely take a chance with the Dodgers. But with Justin Steele being gone, and then you asked him so much from Cade Horton in a 7-game series, you need a steal. And now that Steele is not there, I think their pitching is going to run out. Colin Ray's great. Javier Asad's great, but he's no Justin Steele. Justin Steele, like, what was it, last year, was running with aces. Like, he was running with, like, Cy Young at one point. So, if they had a Justin Steele in there with the emergence of Cade Horton, I could definitely see the Cubs in the World Series.
Justin Steele has the leadership aspect too.
The way they were playing too, they weren't playing like this when Steele was playing. Like, he was always in their grill, especially that one time he was pitching great in Milwaukee and they weren't hitting. Right after that, he just lit a fire in the dugout and they just came out and started hitting. So it's like, yeah.
That's the reason I don't think the Yankees are going to make a run, is like, especially when you get to the CS, man, having like a 3rd or 4th starter you can depend on is so important. And like, obviously, you can't replace a guy like Garrett Cole, but once you get past Max Fried and Carlos Rodon, it gets a little harder for me to trust that starting rotation. I mean, Luis Hill is all right, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think that's just a flair pick. If it was up to me, I would go Brewers Mariners just because that would be the most fun World Series and that's what everybody else wants. But I just, for some reason, every time that a team has everything going for them into the playoffs, somehow they find a way to fall off. We've seen it with the Phillies in the past. We've seen it with the Braves a couple of times when they were expected to win. The years that they're not expected to win are the ones that they've made the runs in. So I feel like it's just always, and I mean, it'd be unfair to not allow the Blue Jays to have a shot at being in there too. They're the 1 seed right now. They should.
I'm gonna say no Blue Jays talk. Yeah,
and man, their offense is they've really come on. And I was able to see George Springer firsthand. That dude was tearing the cover off of Brewers pitching. If he gets into another series with the Brewers, he is going to be a freaking menace.